Welcome back, guys. In this first practical class, we will learn about why Google Tag Manager came into existence. Remember, guys, if you are a marketer, you must understand how important it is to track the behavior of the people and different actions that people do on your site. So we categorize those actions that people do on your site into two buckets. One is micro conversions, second one is called macro conversions. But let's not get there. But I think if you watch my previous video, you understand how important is tracking. But here I'm going to emphasize on why Google Tag Manager came into market. See, Google Tag Manager is basically a tag management solution offered by Google. Now, what is tag management solution? See, if you're a marketer, you get to understand that tagging is very important. Tagging, I will tell you like this. For example, think if you're watching a National Geographic channel, a lion is hurt. So what these people who try and save those tigers, what they do is they try and find this lion, tranquilize it, go and do something to the lion, or try and give medicines, and then they put a tag around the lion's neck. Why they do that is because they come back, the lion goes into the wild, and again they want to know where that lion is and what it is doing, and that will happen only when you tag it. So the same concept, when people come to your site, you got to inform Google, Facebook and other marketing platforms about what people are doing on your site. And only when those people, they come to your site, do something, and Google and Facebook is informed, you can run effective campaigns. For that to happen, they will give you some small piece of code. That code you have to put it on your website. See, you run marketing campaigns on Google and Facebook, people will see your ad on Google and Facebook, and they leave those platforms and come to your site. And once those people leave, once the users leave those platforms and come to your site, they will not be able to track what people do on your site because they don't have control over your site. Remember, as long as people are on Google, Google tracks it. If you click, Google tracks it. If you see an ad, Google tracks it. But once you click on the ad and you come to my site, Google will not be able to track what people do on my site. So it is my responsibility to inform Google, hey, people have come to my site and people have done these things on my site. And that will happen only when you tag. Right. So what is tag? I'll tell you. Tag is nothing but it's a code, right? The other name of code, the other names of tag that is used in market is you call it pixel, you call it script, you call it JavaScript, or you call it as a code, or you call it as a snippet, or you call it as a pixel. So these are different names of tags, right? So and before we even learn about that, so what is tag? Tag, right? Tag is a code. Why it is always a code? Let's go and understand this fact. See, if you have a website, imagine this is a website. This is my site. I'll just go through my site. This is my site, a demo site, which is an e-commerce site hosted on WooCommerce. And in the entire playlist, you'll learn amazing things about data layers as well. See, data layers is one of the most complex things, and you can't, you can't say I will not learn data layers and implement enhanced e-commerce tracking. That will never work, right? So you will learn about those advanced features as well. See, this is my website, makemarketer.in, right? See, this is completely a site, right? Remember, website is completely code, and we call it web code. Who creates this code? Developer. So you go to a developer and give him some money and tell him to create a site, and this guy will write a code for you, right? Website is a code. So what happens is, if you understand the framework of the website, what happens is the developer gives you a code. That code you place it in the hosting server, right? And when your code is placed in the hosting server, somebody comes to the website. For example, I use this browser and I come to makemarket.com. And when a user comes to makemarket.com, what happens is this browser takes the request and goes to the server and tells server, I've got a request from the user, can you give me the response? And what server does is it gives you the entire code. This is the code. And browser, what it does is it takes the code and starts interpreting it line by line, and that's how you see the entire website. You see the website now, right? This is the graphical user interface, but the backend is all code. You see all the code, right? And that is why what Google and Facebook, they give you is, they give you a tag, they give you a code. So their code, you put it in your website. So what happens is, when people come to your site, the browser will ask your web server, and web server gives the code, right? As it starts constructing the website, it even finds a new code, and that code is the Google tag or the Facebook pixel that you'll find. And again, browser, when it encounters that tag, it sends information to Google Ads and Facebook Ads, informing them, hey, you can tag them. And again, what happens when they get the information? How do they track? We'll learn later. But that is how essentially tagging works. It's a small piece of code. It's a small tag, or it's a small snippet which is given by the marketing platform, and that tag you put it on your website so they can track what people are doing on your website. So essentially this is the entire structure of the website. See, website, is again divided into three parts. First is the HTML. HTML, like you see all the tables and the boxes and all these things, right? So it's the HTML. The CSS is the color. If you see the color here and all those things, it is part of the CSS. And the JavaScript is the one that adds functionality to the website. So essentially, website is divided into three parts: HTML, second one is CSS, third one is JavaScript. And that is why whenever Google, Facebook, Pinterest, or LinkedIn, Twitter, or Quora, any other platforms gives you their tag, they give you a tag which is a JavaScript. Why? You talk about JavaScript. JavaScript is the widely used programming language on the web, right? And that is how it works. So browser, what it does, it takes the code, it starts constructing the code and presents that in a GUI, which is graphical user interface, right? Right. Let's jump to tag. So tag, it's a code, or maybe a JavaScript code or HTML. And why you tag it? So if I want to emphasize more on tagging, I will tell you this. For example, if I go to a site, what I do is I bookmark this site. So bookmark is one kind of tagging. Why you tag it? Because in future you want to revisit. In future you want to go back and analyze. You need that in one place. So you bookmark it. So similarly, if people come to your site and later I want to go to Facebook and Google, I want to analyze that and run campaigns based on that. So what you have to do, you got to tag them. So one example is like that, right? Think of it like a bookmark. When you bookmark, you kind of tag it so you can visit later, right? And again, I'm telling you, the other names of tags are snippets, scripts, you call it tracking code, you call it tag, or you call it pixel. These are all the names of tags, right? Now, Prashanth, if I have a website, I have to put so many tags. Maybe I have to put 15-20 tags. And if I put 15-20 tags, what will happen? My site will become slow. And it will have loading issues, right? And my site speed will become, maybe higher. Rather than loading in 3 seconds, 5 seconds, it might take 5, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds. And you might know, if you are a digital marketer, you might know the importance of, having low page speed time. If you have high page speed time, it will directly affect your conversions. But Prashanth, I will not be able to run successful campaigns if I don't tag them. So I definitely need 10 tags. Oh, you need 10 tags? That's when Google came up with one solution called Google Tag Manager. It says, hey, you don't have to put 10 tags on your site and make your site very heavy and it loads very late. You don't have to worry. I'm giving you one solution called Google Tag Manager. You have to remove all the tags, put only one tag, which is Google Tag Manager. And this tag will hold all the other tags. That is why Google Tag Manager, we call it as a container. We call it as container. I will talk about the hierarchy in a while, right? So in fact, right now, if you add too many tags to the website, the performance of the site will be affected. But you cannot run successful campaigns without having tags. And that's why Google came up with the solution. And such a beautiful solution. Every website owner has a problem, and Google always comes up with products which are scalable, right? If you're very familiar with GTM, you don't have to go to developer always, because if you go back into past, each time you want to tag something, you have to hard code it. So you have to go to a developer and tell developer, hey, put this tag, and again you come back, you tag, again you go back. So there are a lot of you have to go again, come back, analyze, and then go back. So multiple times for one thing you have to go and talk to a developer. But now you don't have to go to a developer. That means 60% of the time of yours going to developer, you don't have to go. Right now, for advanced implementations, you need the support of a developer, but apart from that, you don't have to go. So that is what Google Tag Manager did. Right. Next. Right. The solution is very simple. Google gave one solution. Don't put all the tags, remove all the tags, put only one tag, which is Google Tag Manager. And in the Google Tag Manager account, you can put all the other tags. Right. Now, so let's talk about the hierarchy of Google Tag Manager. Now remember, this is the account. I'll just show you the account. Right. So I have one Gmail address. Gmail address is makemarketer.in@gmail.com. This is my Gmail address. With one Gmail address, I can create multiple Google Tag Manager accounts. With one Gmail account, you can create multiple Google Tag Manager accounts. You see, multiple Google Tag Manager accounts. I have two Google Tag Manager accounts. In each Google Tag Manager account, you can put multiple containers. You see, this is my Google Gmail account, and I have two accounts. One account is GetCab India. The second account name is this one. And in each account, you can create multiple containers. So imagine I am opening this container. Right. So this is my account name, and I have containers in it. I have multiple containers in it. right? So one Gmail account, remember, one Gmail account, you can have multiple GTM accounts. In each GTM account, you can create multiple containers. So I would say like this: if you have 10 websites, you don't have to create 10 GTM accounts. If you have 10 websites, you can create only one GTM account and you can create multiple containers like this. So to manage 10 websites, you don't have to create 10 accounts. You don't have to create 10 email addresses. You can only create one email address. With one email address, you can create one Google Tag Manager account. In one Google Tag Manager account, you can create 10 containers. And each container here represents a website, right? That is why it's always recommended that you give the container name as the website name. So I'm going to show you now. See, I created one account called Google Tag Manager Make Marketer Demo Site, right? And here, when I come, I gave the container name as makemarketer.in because this is the container, right? Now, this is the container. So remember, Google account, GTM account, containers, right? In containers, you have tags, triggers, variables. I will take you through all of them. Now, if you talk about the account level settings of Google Tag Manager, remember this is the name where you can give, this is the account ID. And you have to share this because in case you need any support from Google, you want to go back to them and tell them that I need support, then they will ask you to check this. Without this, they'll not be able to access your account. That means they don't have permissions to check or log into your account and check your data or check whatever tags and triggers you've implemented. So this is very important, right? Second is account activity, what all changes you have done. So these all changes were done 3 hours ago, an hour ago, account activity. And then you have user management. It's so flexible, like all the other Google accounts. You can give access to multiple people, so you can manage multiple containers or one account by multiple people. So make marketer, this is the email address, and I am the administrator. If I want, I can invite someone else as well. So when I add users, I have to enter their email address and I give what access they want. I can give them an administrator access, I can give them a user access, and when I give the access, I can even give permissions to particular container. See, this account Make Marketer Demo website has 2 containers, so I can give access to only one container or I can give access to multiple containers. If you talk about containers, I can give access to publish or only to approve, edit or read. It depends. If you trust somebody, you give them the entire admin access, so they'll be able to publish the tags, triggers or anything that they do on Tag Manager. Right, this is the account level settings. Now, if you come to tag container, in one tag manager account, you can create multiple containers, and here are the container settings. If you want to create a new container, you can go and type in here, right? So make marketer.in. Imagine I have another website. Just imagine. So I create one container. So and container always mark it with a website. So I say make marketer.website. Imagine. So this is my other website. So what I'm doing is I'm giving this name, and I say it is for web, and I create. Right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm creating multiple containers in the same Google Tag Manager account. Right. Okay. Done. So let's come back. Let's come back to the same account, and then you see my demo site, and I'm opening this account. When I go here, you see they are and again you have to remember they are workspaces. Now, if you talk about Google Tag Manager, remember at the top you have workspace, versions, and admin. If you go here, I showed you. If you talk about container settings, you can give the name, or you want to change the name, you can do it here. And if you want to delete the container also, you can delete it here, but not recommended. Right? Container activity, what all changes were made, what all updates were done, you will find all of them here. User management, if you want people to have access to a particular container, you can give access. Like you can give access to an account, you can give access to a container as well. Now, install Tag Manager, Google gives you instructions. Now, if you want to install Google Tag Manager on your site, remember Google gives you 2-part code. It is a 2-part code. It's not like Google Ads, or it's not like Analytics, or it's not like Pinterest, or Facebook Pixel, or LinkedIn, or Twitter tag or Cola tag. Right? They're all one tag. Right? But here it's a 2 tag. You have to understand Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics, they're not same. Google Tag Manager is not a standalone tool. Google Analytics is. If you put only Google Analytics on your site, it will automatically start capturing. But if you put only Google Tag Manager on your site, it will not start capturing because it is a container. It has to have other tags. It's a repository which holds other tags, triggers, and variables, right? And when I come back here, now you have import container. Remember guys, if you have a container and you want to give it to somebody, or he wants to import your container, what you can do is you can export and again ask him to import, right? If you want to export, you can choose the container version. I'll tell you what version. You can just select, and it will give you a file. You can download the file and you can share it with other people, and they can also import. Right now, so in my Gmail account, I have two accounts. In my Gmail account, I have 2 accounts. One Gmail account can create multiple Google Tag Managers. So this is one account, and in this account, I created 3 containers. right? So I click on my container, which is make market.org. And when you come to container, you have workspaces. Right now, Google allows you to create only 3 workspaces. Right, I've created, first one is the default workspace, next one I created new workspace, and then you have one workspace left, because I have the option to create another one as well. Right, workspace is nothing but, right, so you can ask multiple people to work on multiple workspaces, so you know which workspace you're working on. And version is nothing but, what is version? Every time you publish something, you make changes and you publish the container, and it keeps updating. For example, if I publish now, it will be 1. If I publish again in the evening after making some changes, it will be version 2. And again, if I publish tomorrow after making some changes, it will be version 3. Now, why Google shows all this version is because in case you want to go back to previous version, you can find all the versions, and what you can do is you can just go and set it as the latest version, and what all changes that were published during that version, you can see them live on your site, right, when it comes to triggers and all those things. Right, so version, it keeps updating, the number keeps incrementing every time you publish. And workspace, you have 3 workspaces by default, and if you want a higher number, then you have to go with Google Tag Manager, the paid version of it. Right, let's come back to, I have to select the version, so I select the default workspace because that is where I was working. So I want to show you actually how many workspaces you can create, so I've just showed you that, right? So if you want to change the workspaces, you can click here and you can go select the other one as well, right? So right now I'm working on default workspace. So remember, Gmail account, Google Tag Manager, then Gmail account, the all accounts, Google Tag Manager account, Google Tag Manager account, container, in container you have workspaces, in workspaces you have tags, triggers, variables. Guys, remember, tags, triggers and variables. Tag is the snippet that finally carries the information. Trigger is nothing but the condition as to when the tag should be fired. Variable is something that holds value. Now we'll talk about variables as well. Variable is something that holds value. Variable can hold different values at different times, or you can have a constant variable as well, that we will talk about in future videos. If you talk about data layer variable, it will hold different values at different times, or if you talk about Google Analytics tracking ID variable, it will hold the same ID, right? So tag. No, tag is nothing but, remember guys, tag is the thing that takes the information. If you want to pass information from your website to Google server, you need a tag. If you want to tell Google Analytics a click happened, you need a tag. You want to tell Analytics that people spend 5 minutes, you need a tag. If you want to raise a pop-up, or if you want to put a pop-up on your site, you need a tag. So any information that you think you need to share from your website to Google Analytics or any other marketing platform, you need a tag. Tag is that code. Now, so what I've done is I created a hello bar pop-up. Hello bar is an account, so I created a hello bar pop-up, and there they give me a tag, and I bought this tag and I put this tag here. I put the tag here and I gave a condition. Now what is condition? Condition is nothing but trigger. See, for any tag to fire, you need an associated trigger. You have a trigger, you don't have a tag, of no use. Trigger is of no use if there is no tag. And you created the tag, but you don't know when the tag should be fired. So trigger is that condition. If you think about this example, I have a pistol. In the pistol, there's a bullet. When the bullet should be fired is the trigger. So when, for example, you say, hey, when you see somebody wearing a black pant, fire. So that is the trigger. And when the trigger is fired, the bullet will go out. And what that bullet takes is the information. Right? So bullet will go only after there is a condition, and that condition is, hey, if you see somebody is wearing a black pant. So there is the bullet will go only when there is a trigger. So tag, trigger, they always go together. A trigger without a tag of no use, a tag without a trigger is of no use. Remember, both of them go together. Right? So I've created tags, a lot of tags. We'll talk about all these things in my future videos. Trigger, you can create triggers. If you talk about triggers, you can create trigger here. If you come to trigger, I've created a trigger, and you can create a lot of triggers. I created one trigger called 40-second trigger. 40-second trigger is nothing but I want to set a condition. Hey, if people come to my site and spend 40 seconds, trigger. So what I did, I gave the name as 40-second trigger, and I selected the trigger type as timer. When you create a trigger, right, Google gives you so many options like this. I already selected, so I selected the trigger type as timer, and in the timer I said interval as 40. Why 40? Because it is in milliseconds, and 1 second is 1000 milliseconds. So I want this trigger to be for 40 seconds, so I put 40,000. And how many times this should be triggered? Once. If you leave it empty, what happens is, if people spend 2 minutes, so what will happen is, in 2 minutes there are 2 40, right? 40 seconds, right? Or 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 40 seconds, 120 seconds, right? So in that case, it will fire 3 times, and I don't want that to happen. So what I did, I only limited to 1, and I said, hey, this trigger should only fire on all pages. So I said page URL matches rejects regular expressions, or you can use regular expressions, or you can simply say contains, and you give the website URL. You can do either ways. You can do like that. You can put like this, or you can put contains matches rejects dot star. Dot star is a regular expression that matches literally every character. So I created one trigger like this, and what I can do is I can use this trigger to associate it to a tag. Right? I created one more trigger called contact us trigger. So when people go to contact us, a trigger should fire. So I gave trigger type. So I want to show you if I create a new one. When I create a trigger, you give a proper name to it and then choose low minute triggers. Now imagine, Prashanth, I want to create a trigger for page view. So what I do is I select page view. Which page view? All pages or particular page view? So I say only particular page view, and I select page URL. Page URL contains, for example, if that trigger should be for contact us. So I copy the URL and I come here and I put it here. So this trigger will fire only when people go to contact us. That is exactly what I have done here. You see, when people come to contact us, that's when the trigger will fire. And this trigger is the condition for a tag. What tag? Hello bar. So what I have done is I created a hello bar pop-up and I said hello bar pop-up should only load on my site when people go to contact us. When people go to contact us. So see, if I come to contact us page, when I come to contact us page, you see, you'll find the hello bar pop-up. I'm going to show you, and just to make sure, hello bar pop-up is contact a trigger. You come to my site, you see hello bar pop-up. I did not put hello bar pop-up to fire on all pages. I said hello bar pop-up should fire only on contact us page, and that contact us page is the trigger that I've created. You see. And how is hello bar pop-up coming on my site? Because I went to hello bar, I created an account, I created a pop-up there, and they gave me a tag. So tag is that small snippet which carries the information. So what happened is when people went to contact us page, trigger happened, the trigger was triggered, and then that trigger triggered this tag, and this tag went to Tag Manager, this tag went to hello bar and brought my pop-up, and that is how you see this. So you understand, right? So whenever you fire a tag, the tag will take the information. The tag will send information or bring information, right? And variable is something that holds value. So you talk about variables. We'll talk about all these things in depth. So I just want to establish this very fact: tags, triggers, and variables. So for example, let's assume I want to send an information about page view to Google Analytics. So what I did was I created a new tag and I selected GA page view. I selected GA page view tag and I selected the tag type as Universal Analytics. There are a lot of tag types already available. Google Tag Manager is so good. It is so flexible. It works with a lot of third-party applications. So I've selected Google Analytics, Universal Analytics, and then selected the tag type as page view. In that, you have to give the tracking ID because you want analytics to capture something as page view, but to which account? To which property, and every property has an ID, right? So you have to get the property ID and you have to put it here. Prashanth, but if I have to put 10 tags, then I have to put 10 times ID. No, you don't have to do that. So what I have done is I have created one small variable. I created a variable called GA tracking ID, user defined variable, and that variable is holding that number. So I don't have to go to my analytics account and copy this ID always. What I can do is I can simply use this variable, and this variable GA underscore tracking code is holding this value. So if I want to call this value, I don't have to copy paste this number. All I have to do is copy paste this variable. So you see, you come to tags here. When you come to tags, I want to send something called page view to analytics, and I said this ID you need to send. Rather than adding the ID UA hyphen, I added that ID in one variable called GA tracking code, and whenever I call this variable will ping that ID. So variable is something that holds value. I hope you understand, right? So the entire GTM framework is this. You have it divided into three parts: tags, triggers, and variables. Tags are codes that needs to be deployed. The other name of tag is, I told you, pixel, tag, code, script, snippet, right? Triggers, when and where the tags should be deployed or triggered. Variable is something that holds value. It can be used as a condition in trigger, or it can be used to send information as part of your tag. Guys, continue to watch the other videos. If it is hard, don't worry. I'm making it very very easy, and it is for people who are already experienced. So if you're not very thorough about how marketing works, or if you're not very familiar with Google Ads and Facebook Ads, it might be a little tricky for you, but I will try and make it very very easy for you. But remember, this entire playlist will cover something very advanced to an extent that you learn about data layers as well. Continue to watch these videos, and I would see you in my next video. Thank you so much. Thank you.